God, we made it. Okay. So. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to who added 30 categories to this, or also how to manage a leaderboard. I named it that because I needed a name for our group chat while organizing this, and I didn't have any ideas. But this is all about leaderboard management, and we'll get into it. First and foremost, we have 3 of us up here today. First, me. Wow, incredible. I'm Shovel Claus. Wow, that's mean. I hate British people. I can't meme as hard now because this is on recording, but we've been in tech hell for the past 2 hours if you're watching the feedback, but it's okay. We're back. We're so back in such a big way. I'm Shovel. I am a variety runner. I have modded 15 plus games that range from weird indie platformers to really popular titles like Neon White, Cult of the Lamb, stuff like that. Spark 3 is so real. I will be doing my 3rd time GDQ run at this event, Spark the Electric Jester 3, later this week. And ultimately, I'm just a silly little guy to have 2 of the goats with me today. First, on my right.
Hi, I'm Star Smiley. I moderate about 20 plus games, and I moderate the site itself. I moderated from same thing, some small indie games, to stuff like Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario Odyssey. And I ran Amoria SGDQ in 2022.
The goat. And goat number 2.
Hey everyone, my name is Meta. You can also call me Cam.
I was waiting for people to realize.
That picture is from SGDQ last year.
I took it. Yay!
Yes, from Claus.
That isn't a crop. I accidentally cut the guy out on the right, and they put Walter White there. I'm so sorry, he's weak SR. Also, shout out, he is one of the YouTube goats. He makes great content.
Absolutely,
but I'm
amazing.
so sorry if you're watching this.
I am the speedrun.com community manager. I was a speedrunner first, though. I primarily focus on FPS games and things that are like really movement heavy. So my main series, I would say, is Doom. I also am really interested in Ghost Runner, Titanfall, and Mirror's Edge. Yeah, in, I guess, like my spare time, I'm also an ASL developer. I really like making themes for leaderboards. I guess speedrun.com is my job too, so there's that.
Yeah, these guys do this as their job. I do it because I have no life, so it's fine. So first, we're going to be really simple at the start here. What are leaderboards? Most of you in this room know this, but if you're not a speedrunner, you know, good knowledge. Leaderboards, first and foremost, are just a tool ranking people based on their speed. There are a lot of ways you can make leaderboards and use them. A lot of games have them. For example, Mario Kart has a pretty popular time trial scene, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has an online leaderboard that's mostly hacker-free, I think. I don't know. You can never tell. In-game leaderboards sometimes have really bad cheater problems, but that's okay. Typically, if you're good enough, you can tell what's cheated. But a lot of speedrun games, too, like Neon White, popular one, very popular IL game, have level times for all of them. Each level. Then there are a ton of websites out there. Stuff like speedrun.com is one that is more curated, where you have to specifically request a game. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But there's also ones that are community driven, like our example up here is megamanleaderboards.net. That's for the Mega Man community, of course. And they have all the games up there. They have their own community space. And then, of course, there's also the run.gg, which I want to give a specific shout out to because that is not a curated leaderboard. How run.gg works is that it takes information from your splits and automatically makes a leaderboard. So for just like meme casual runs, the run.gg is actually such a great tool. And of course, on that note, you also have spreadsheets, which are great if you have just like a small group of friends really interested in the game, where it's like, oh, you just put your times in. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't downloaded the RunGG live split component yet, it's amazing. Especially if you're looking at like stats and stuff. There's amazing stats breakdowns.
Yeah, no, the run.gg is like the goated program if you need like information on where all your time save is. That's what I use it mostly for.
Yep.
But yeah, very basic level. Why do we like leaderboards? Is I don't know. It's kind of varies from person to person. Personally, I actually hate leaderboards, which is ironic because I'm
Because here we
doing
are.
this. But the only reason I really like it are to see my own progression. I'll look back on my old runs, see maybe what I was doing right in those runs, and then what I was doing wrong, of course. And then I also like seeing strategies from other runners where it's like, oh, cool, this is how I can improve. It's really nice for run reviews if you are really pushing a game down. You can see what people better than you have faster times than you. No, it's all arbitrary, but people with faster times than you do in order to save time. But honestly, my biggest thing is just I like being part of the community. The community is why I'm a speedrunner. Like, we're all big old nerds, and it's great. So, that's my thing. I'm sure these two have very different opinions about this.
I mean, the way that I break it down in my head is there's essentially like 3 different kinds of speedrunners when it comes to specifically leaderboards. There's like the athlete. They're really focused on the competition aspect, trying to get the world record for like usually a specific game or maybe a few games. And then there's the enthusiast, which is essentially, your community. That's like, you really care just about being in the community. That's my favorite anyway. And then I would say the third and last one, which is maybe a bit more rare, is probably like the collector, which really is like focused on farming like a ton of like personal bests and records on all kinds of leaderboards. There's a runner that goes by the name of Akira Taki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. Who has something along the lines of like 11,000 runs in the last like 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How about you?
I like the fact that everything is grouped in one place. I like the fact that all the guides, all the tools, and everything you could possibly need to know about the speedrun is there on one page. And we'll get more into that later on, but I also like the competitive aspect. Not necessarily for world record, but I like seeing people who are around my skill level and competing against them on the board.
Yeah, I'm very much the same way where, like, if I have a group of friends and we're all running the game, I'm like, oh, I'm going to bop you so hard.
That's like the reason I've run half of my games.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll get you.
One big thing we want to talk about is leaderboards are not inherently good nor bad. It's all up to interpretation, as most things are in life. There's no real value to leaderboards except for what you make of it.
Yeah.
So if you're like, bottom of the leaderboard, you're terrible at the game you run, that's also just perfectly okay. You can still find value in leaderboards, finding friends, finding new people to meet. At the end of the day, it's not that serious. Like, there are arguments all the time in the speedrunning scene where it's like, the leaderboard should do this, leaderboard should do this. Chill. It's not that deep. This speedrunning stuff is not so serious that you have to die for it. Chill. But yeah, the rest of this panel is just going to focus on speedrun.com, though. Mainly because I got 2 people that work there, but also because it is easily the most popular speedrunning site, and also most popular leaderboard site. So we'll look at some of what is on the site. You just want to do one by one. You can go in order, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. So there's categories. It's about what people can submit. Usually it's about beating the game in the fastest time possible, or it can be about collecting every single thing in the game as fast as possible. And there's a lot of different categories and different end goals that you can put in for categories.
Yeah, so Meta explained this to me the other day. Categories are like the goals of what the game is doing. I really like how he explained this to me, so I'll let you talk about subcategories too.
Sure.
But we have Super Mario 64, the most popular game probably ever in speedrunning history. Not according to run count, but according to like views and whatnot. Legacy, but 120 star. You collect all the stars. Wow, incredible.
Yeah, so I guess the way that I look at creating a leaderboard is sort of like a hierarchy. And at the top of the hierarchy, you have categories. The categories should be typically goal-based. Obviously, this is all sort of a guideline. How you want to steward your community, absolutely go for it, as long as it's in a healthy way. Typically, categories should be focused on a goal, whether that's reaching the credits or doing all of the missions, getting this, getting that, whatever. Whereas subcategories are sort of how you intend to reach that goal. So whether that's without glitches, with glitches, on a New Game Plus save file, on a certain difficulty, it's sort of like, how you intend to reach that goal. Mm-hmm. And then as sort of a third note, what we now call annotations, which is sort of the extra columns on the leaderboard, sort of like the filters. It's good for additional information that you can sort by, but it's not like a priority. So that could, for instance, be, it could even be difficulty if it's really not that big of a deal. Mm. I've seen the Souls communities use like specific routes, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Frame rate is another one. Version,
So on SM64 here, it says verified because they have a kind of unorthodox verification method where they'll just put it on the boards with like an annotation if it's verified or not. Mm-hmm. But the subcategories and annotations are very flexible. We'll talk more about them later on. As for the rest of this, the rules page is the rules of the game. It's kind of there, show rules, but the levels, I'm gonna swap over to this image. Level leaderboards tackle individual levels as opposed to full game categories. So much smaller, condensed down things. You can see 120 star is an hour 36 minutes. Most of these levels don't go over 5 minutes. So very, very short. Then there are the guides and resources tabs at the top, number 5 there. Where you can put guides and resources for runners, upload files, stuff like that. And then the news and forums section, and also streams, where your community can interact with each other, find new information about it. There are some website links, too, at the top. Community websites tend to be there pretty often, so if you're like looking for a community website, you can find it there. Discords as well. And then there are related. There's the related tab, which is like the fan games that are branching off of certain games. SM64 has a lot of them, and then also stuff like category extensions, which I'll talk about that later.
Even DLC expansions and stuff.
Even that, yeah. It goes pretty deep if you really want to. And then there's also the stats page, which is a recent addition and goes over a ton of different like history and information about the game.
There's a lot of cool stuff if you're like an information nerd like me.
It's good for world record videos.
It is good for world record videos. But yeah, that's just a basic overview of the looks of speedrun.com. We'll talk more about all of those things like in specific when we get through. But
we also have a questions segment at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any questions about something specific, hold on to that, and in our final slide we can address that. Yeah. We'll have tons of time for that.
So leaderboard moderators are people who kind of look over a community. They're not owners of the community, importantly. They are there to kind of serve the community's interests. And a lot of those responsibilities can depend on community, because, every community at the end of the day will handle things differently. It's very, very much oriented to what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of what they do is just kind of basic, like, upkeep work. Keeping them healthy, competitive. Resources, of course, are really important if you want to get new runners into the game. And then kind of starting the process of changes. Like a big recent thing in a lot of speedrun communities is the advent of Turbo, where you just remove mashing from the game to make it not kill your hands. Mods are people who would take care of that process of getting people in the community their formal opinion and stuff like community votes and stuff like that. And they tend to be a part of a pretty big team. For example, SM64 here has a huge moderator team. These people range from people who've played the game for like years on end to people who have a time and just want to help out. And it's pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, being a moderator is kind of hard and nebulous. it's a lot of learned social skills, which for some people is a lot harder than others, and it's also super hard to teach. Um, it's kind of something you pick up a little bit. You have to make mistakes is the big thing. I'm sure all three of us have done a lot of mod work. We have done really dumb stuff on our mod teams. I'm sure we have stories. But yeah, like you got to make mistakes to learn, and that's the big thing in my opinion. Like as long as some mistakes are so big where you're like probably not suitable for the mod team at the end of the day, but a lot of mistakes you're probably overthinking it. You probably don't have to step down from the mod team if you make a silly mistake, as long as you try to correct that mistake as soon as possible. And obviously don't like burn bridges over it. You want a healthy relationship with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm probably going to be echoing some of the things that you said, but it's not that hard to become a moderator if you are like interested in it. Really, it's all about just trying to keep a healthy and safe community. A lot of the upkeep work isn't like too complex or anything like that, but it's also you have to be passionate about it. Don't look at it as like a job. Don't participate if you feel like you have to do it. Only do it if you want to do it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree on that. It's not really important if you know how to manage a leaderboard.
Nobody
if you
does
know
it first.
if you know how to set up categories or variables or anything like that. The important part is that you care about the community and want to learn and help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have a bunch of points here about what good moderators look like. A lot of these are pretty obvious, I think. Like, you don't want people you don't know at the head of your community making decisions for you. The other big thing is being knowledgeable about speedruns broadly is a big thing. Unironically, one of my favorite hobbies, and this is a problem, is just scrolling speedrun.com and looking for new leaderboards. It's how I got the idea for this panel in the first place was, nice. Wow, I've seen so many leaderboards that just do not make sense to me. How can I help this? And then they open panel submissions the next day. So we're so back. And then at the bottom there, it says recommended to be 16 plus.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
It's a recommendation in the rules. We don't actually enforce it. We don't check each individual user to see if they're actually 16 plus or not. But it is a general rule of thumb because just maturity reasons.
Yeah, children. Obviously be above 13. That is is a legal thing.
I'm sorry, but we will ban you if you are under 13.
But
we legally have to.
Yes.
That's like every company. Try to be off the internet if you're over 13. Yeah. You don't want that brain damage. But
it's too late for us.
It's too late for us, but we can still save them. But yeah. Next, I want to show you how to make a leaderboard, and that's going to be a lot of the requesting of leaderboards, and then, of course, the actual kind of back-end things like changing options and making changes to your actual web page. So, first and foremost, I want to say this looks a little bit different. They just updated the UI. I'm mad, and I just realized this. But at the top, okay, here. Well, that is the displays. There we go. We're so back. This help button at the top here is going to be really valuable. There is just a ton of information about speedrun.com, about what used to be called the knowledge base, but they changed the name, but it's okay. That help section has a ton of information. If you're seriously interested in moderation and you're needing a really in-depth starting point, we only have an hour up here, so we're telling you the important stuff. But that how to moderate section has a ton of information.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, this section was written by me. If there's something that's unclear, feel free to bring it up with me, and we can change it. I'm more than flexible with this area, and I want to make sure there's very little barrier to entry for this. So
yeah. On the basic help page, you'll be put here at the introduction. What you want to do is open a support ticket. You can click new ticket, and that'll take you to this page. You want to click add a new game to speedrun.com, and you'll be asked for a ton of information. Main thing is a ton of back-end stuff for like release date, what the game name is. You can't actually change the game name, so like make sure it's the actual game name. You have to file a new support ticket if you want to change the game name.
Yeah, we do content adjustments, but it's a separate process. So.
But yeah, make sure this is as accurate as you can. It'll also ask you for a run video link, the release date of the game, and then a ton of additional notes. You don't have to be super in-depth. You don't have to give like a 100, 200 page essay. Word. You can make it like just a quick paragraph. Tends to work in my experience. But of course, it kind of depends. Star can talk about this a lot because she's the one who does most of the actual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as videos go, you don't actually have to do a full game run. It depends on the game. Like for generic mobile games, we may request that you do a full game run or have a ton of individual levels that we can go through. But if you're a known user and it's a recognizable game, like say a new Mario game or something, we may just accept it without actually looking at it. But yeah, even just an individual level works.
I have done this. I've submitted literally casual playthroughs, and it still gets accepted. You don't
as long as some effort is put into it.
Exactly. You also don't have to be super refined. Don't think you have to like build out a route. But yeah, you only need to request once, please. So I can't imagine how annoying it's. Thank God I don't work for SRC. But yeah. Otherwise, like I said, a broad knowledge of speedruns is really, really beneficial. So just expressing that. Of course, if you're a known user, you don't need to that much. It's fine. But if you're like new to the site, just show that you kind of understand like some of the basics of speedrunning. What are your categories going to be like? What are the rules? Stuff like that.
As long as you can show that you have like a plan, that's usually good enough.
Yeah. I don't think it's that hard as long as you put in a tiny bit of effort.
Yeah.
There are some rules, and I'll let someone else talk about this. There are some actual rules, like hard rules about requests, though. Like there's some stuff.
We do require that you have like 2 social contacts added to your profile. That just makes sure that the runner can contact you outside of the site, just in case. The SRC DMs aren't very noticeable to many people, so some communities like Minecraft, Roblox, Sonic, they have their own process for accepting games that, like, we don't want to get involved in community matters if we don't have to. We don't want to restrict them or anything. So you should talk to them, the moderators of the game, or the series moderators, and see if they have their own process for adding games.
Shout out to the Sonic fan games. They literally have their own separate Google sheet. It's great.
As a general rule, like as speedrun.com and as employees working for speedrun.com, we aren't looking to be like the authority on speedrunning communities. We don't really like rejecting leaderboards or anything like that. But like it has to make sense. You know what I mean?
I just remembered this. It does have to be your own run.
Yes.
I got rejected for this once. Where I was requesting on the behalf of someone, but like it was their run, so I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. It does have to be your own run, so make sure.
We have like a ton of new speedrun.com users using a popular person's
run
as their and requesting leaderboard status for it, and like we can't trust that.
Yeah, no, totally. It's perfectly understandable. But yeah. Otherwise, just some it isn't that hard to get your leaderboard on there. I have a good handful of just leaderboards that are games I want to run one day, but I haven't put the time in yet. But they're still there, and we're still back. But yeah, it doesn't have to be too complicated. Another thing I want to bring up while we're here is demos. Demos tend to get really popular, especially like Steam Next Fest. If you're requesting a demo of a game, you can either request it as a demo board itself, as like a pre-release. They have an option for that while you're requesting, or you can request it as the full game run, and you can start with a category for the demo and then move it later on when the game fully releases and you want to like put the demo boards somewhere else. We'll talk more about that when we get to how categories work, but you can request demos, and it pretty often I would recommend just requesting it for the full game. Don't request a demo board. It isn't really necessary, but yeah. Now what? Great. You have your leaderboard. What are you gonna do? Yeah, you have a lot of customization options. We'll go through them one by one, but you have a ton of freedom with your leaderboards. So first and foremost, we have a ton of just basic options. You can find the settings under the following button or follow button at the top right. Just click that and it'll take you right there. You can tell I inspect Elemented. Just don't worry about it. But yeah, the first thing you'll see here. You know what? We'll bring up Spark 3 because this is my board. We're so back. I'm not looking at that board.
I was gonna say
That's true. It might not work. But yeah, you can see the name of the game. I'm on Meta's account, and I'm going to get him fired from SRC by messing with stuff. But you typically can't change this name. Don't worry about it. The URL is whatever you want. I personally highly recommend doing an acronym. For example, SM64. Very simple, very easy. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk ERC, very simple. As long as it's like recognizable. Earlier today, I saw I think it was RoboCop Rogue City RC. No one knows what that game is. It's like from the acronym alone, at least, no one knows what that is. So make sure it makes sense. I would say make your URLs very basic. I personally don't like when it's the full game with like spaces being underscores. I don't like that. Just make it one word. You know, that's what I like. I'm sure. I don't care. I don't know if you guys care that much about this.
I really don't. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'll be real with you. Like, it's a link. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But
it's easier if new runners have a smaller URL to look for. But
yes.
Other than that,
yeah. See, this is the stuff I think about because I'm obsessed with keeping my leaderboards very simple.
There is sort of I guess an Easter egg in the search bar of speedrun.com. You can, instead of searching for the game, you can actually just search for the URL. So if you wanted to search for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, for instance, you could type BRC.
And in the search bar up top?
Yep.
BRC.
Watch it not work. Oh my gosh.
Just like that. And we also have Babar and the Royal Coin Caper. That's cool. I don't know what that game is. I'll have to check it out later. But yeah. Next is the cover art and some metadata here. Release date, Twitch name, and the cover art. The big thing is the cover art. Obviously, they typically do 9:16. I think is the aspect ratio. I don't know what aspect ratio is that. But like the vertical cover art. You can find this on SteamDB very easily. SteamDB is a great website if you're a Steam game. Particularly, you can find all tons of resources by scrolling down to the app info. And you have a ton of logos here. So, you know, it still says CSGO for CS2. That's really interesting. But yeah,
Valve,
you have...
please fix.
Valve, please fix. But yeah, you have a ton of information here. Like, you know, you have the capsules, the headers. So if you need something like that, if you can't find it, then perfect. You can find it there. If your game is not on Steam, good luck. That's all I have.
I have a few games I moderate that maybe like 5 people total have ever played. I usually try and go to Google Images or take in-game screenshots.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, so you can use Google Images if you just search the game name and then just type game cover.
Yeah.
But then more specifically, if you aren't aware, Google Images has like a tools section. You can then sort by like resolution.
Mm-hmm.
If you're also looking for like something for like the logo or whatever, you can also sort by transparency, which is incredibly useful.
Yeah. If you're also a mobile game, also good luck. Speedrun.com crops the art to fit this. You can see it here. Doom, Demons of the Nether. It crops it into this 16:9 view. Even if I go to this leaderboard, it'll still be. This is a Minecraft map. You follow Minecraft custom maps.
It's Doom.
Yeah, it's fair enough. But yeah, it crops it to this 9:16. So just keep that in mind. If you care about that, then that's on you. It's not that.
Yeah, I will say, like, this was not a change that we really wanted to do, but it was sort of necessary for standardization. Showing all but previously we supported any ratio of any resolution, and it was a mess. Everything didn't line up. Yeah, it was really bad. So the developers had to push for a standard resolution. So
it makes sense. It is unfortunate, but it makes sense. And then the game page. The game page is just whatever your default view is. So you can set it to full game or levels. Up to you. Doesn't really matter. It depends on the game, of course, but typically full game for actual full games that it makes sense for. But sometimes levels are all you have, and that's fine. Just make sure you set it to the right thing, because obviously if someone clicks your leaderboard and it's the moderators have not made any categories yet, it's okay, I'm gonna forget that to ever come back to this. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then you have a community resources tab here. You can put in your Discord URL or your website URL. I don't have any experience with websites. Please make sure it's related to the game.
Yeah. For example, some people just put it to the main website for the game itself, by the developers. But some people have their own spreadsheets and wikis that they document all their glitches and tricks in that they link there.
Yeah, I know. In the past, when I just want to fill that up, or if the game is almost is releasing soon, I'll put the Steam page there, so it redirects some traffic. But yeah, I fill out the Discord invite with a permanent invite, please. It is very valuable to your community if you can grow your community through a Discord. Obviously, I shouldn't have to tell you this. And then we have platforms and regions. Platforms, make sure it's okay. Speedrun has a ton of platforms. It is a lot.
Can you find airplane seats?
Airplane seats are on Speedrun.
Yep.
Airplane seats. There are airplane seat speedruns. There are a lot.
So now you know what you're going to do on your way home.
Exactly. Well, if you're driving, don't text and drive.
Yeah.
You can play your Switch and drive. That's okay. But yeah, I always just pick whatever is most important. I don't go super obscure. I just do PC, PlayStation, Xbox, the very baseline things. If your console is not on there, which I don't know how, they have airplane seats. They should have your console. You can file a support ticket, I think.
Yep.
And it's fine.
Yeah, so I would say as a moderator, add the main platforms, and then for whatever reason, if you have an arbitrary platform that one runner wants to submit, go for it. You can add it. It's really not that big of a deal. And then obviously if there's a platform missing from the list, which I doubt it, but if there is one missing from the list, contact one of us. You can even just do it through Discord. I don't care. I mean, I don't want to speak.
You can see stuff like this. I don't think this is necessary, but you're totally free to do it. Shout out to the Sonic mods. But yeah, it's totally fine. It's not that deep. You can go as deep as you want. It's a rabbit hole, so be careful. Is Sega Saturn still on there?
I think so.
Yeah. It's right here. The regions are just if your game has region exclusive things, if your game is faster in Japanese, for example, very common. Put the Japanese version on there. This isn't very common nowadays.
Yeah,
most things have a global release, but it's good for retro games. If your game is a old game that no one knows about, can be important. Up to you. I don't know the base game and base game types.
Yeah, I can explain that.
Sure.
So base game is if you have a specific game type, so that could be category extensions or DLC. Obviously, so for instance, let's say we have, I don't know which game this is.
Oh, is this an admin thing?
Yes.
Am I leaking this? Okay.
But it's okay. I'm
You don't
more
need
than
to worry
happy
about
explain
this.
it. But yeah, game types include pre-release, DLC expansions, mobile, whatever, and the base game is for if you're making a leaderboard for a related game. The most easy one is probably to explain is DLC. If you're making a leaderboard specifically for DLC, then you would want to add, or you would want us to add in base game, for the game that the DLC is for, if that makes sense.
This can only be done through us, so you would have to talk to one of us about it.
Hack Meta's account. Do it. But yeah, what's your password? What's your free supporter for a year link? Check under your seats. But yeah. Oh, I'm glad I added an animation for this circle popping up. I don't know why I did that. Anyways, next is the rules page. The rules page is really, really complicated. Actually, it's kind of messed up. But I'll get back to Spark for this example. We are so back. But yeah, you have 3 timing methods: real time, this time, and in-game time. Use whatever is probably best for your community. I tend to use this time or in-game time. But one important thing, you can't uncheck that real-time box. Meta was talking to me about this
I can explain
the
that
run.
one. So, and I can explain this to the best of my ability, as it was explained to me by the developers. In the back end, this is sort of like a necessity, and we are working to untangle it so that you can disable it and then have like the other ones. But for now, honestly, as a workaround, if you just want to have a custom time method, you can leave RTA checked and only RTA checked. In which case, it will show. You can go to the first one.
I know Viewfinder also has this.
Yeah. So if you only have RTA checked, it will just show on the leaderboard as time. And, as far as public facing, they only see time. You can describe to them what that might mean. That could be LRT, which is like load remove time. That could be in-game time. It's really up to you. All of this stuff is really just how you want to display it. So the other options would be, like, if you want to have RTA and LRT displayed, you would want to have both. But really, like, if you're only having one, you don't really need to mess around with the other ones. It's really not that important.
Yeah, another example I have of this is Little Gator Game. Little Gator Game has only one time field, but it has an in-game timer, and it removes one load. But we still only use one time.
And you just really, as a moderator, you want to specify that in the rules. That's about it.
It does sometimes make sense to have multiple. Once again, Spark 3, we use in-game time. It's all the stage times added up, but it's like a 20-minute difference between RTA and game time. That makes a lot of sense because it is such a massive difference that might impact someone's ability to run the game. So make sure to just, I don't know, talk it out with your community. It's up to you, really. It isn't that bad if you have 2 times and they're like 20 seconds apart. I think, personally, it makes it a lot harder to manage and look at. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And like, people will disagree with that, and that's fine. It's how it is. Wow, I really spelled measure like newer. That's awesome.
It happens.
Anyways, I swear I reviewed this for typos. But yeah, measure time in milliseconds is what that's supposed to say. That adds a millisecond field to the game. Again, much like RTA, I don't think this is necessary for most games. Milliseconds are only, in my opinion, only really necessary when the game is like 2 minutes.
Or if you're playing the party game, which has like a 30-person time.
Yeah, it is really good for also ILs as well. I'd keep that enabled if you have a ton of ILs, because ILs tend to get pretty competitive in a lot of games. Or if you have an in-game timer, I always leave milliseconds on if I have an in-game timer, like an official one, because to me it feels more official. It's not like I don't know what it is. It just feels more official to me. So I like it when like IGT like displays milliseconds. You totally don't need it. It's I don't know. It's up to your community. I'll say that a lot.
The whole thing of this is just a guideline. Steward your community basically how you want, again, in a healthy, safe way. My own personal opinion is milliseconds really aren't that necessary, especially if there isn't like a super competitive scene. In my opinion, it just looks way cleaner having hours, minutes, seconds, whatever.
As someone who has had all 3 of those timing methods clicked and milliseconds for each one, don't do that. It looks really bad. There's a lot of information that is just completely unneeded, and it just fills your leaderboard with times. And that's good if it's all on separate columns, as in all different runs, but not good on one run. emulator runs, are they banned or allowed? We're moving on. Actually, there has been a really big push for emulation to be legal. I don't know. It's hard to tell when that the correct choice is to be made, but
That's a super layered topic, and it depends on the platform and the emulator.
there could be an entire panel based on this decision. It's really complicated. I'm not a tech wizard enough to understand, but it really depends on the game. It really depends on how it runs on emulator. Thank God I run PC games, so I don't have to worry about this. And next is verification rules. Require video proof and verification. Turn those on no matter what. You don't want some random people coming in without a video and without any need for verification, just claiming a new world record. The only community I know that still has this option enabled is Earthworm Jim, and I don't really know why.
Did Wind Waker turn it on? Yeah, at one point people were submitting troll runs to Wind Waker because it didn't have video, didn't have verification requirement.
But yeah. Oh, okay. I guess they turned it on. Well, last time I checked, they didn't require this. Like when I went to I clicked the submission tab, or Hypnotics in the crowd can vouch for this. I think. Never mind. I hate British people.
If you want, you can check Wind Waker.
Yeah,
it might be off.
Isn't that
that's SM64?
Yeah, isn't that what SM64? Okay, well, that's a little bit different. I think the variable is fine, but it kind of depends on the game. All right. I want to say that into the mic so the video can hear. A flash game or something doesn't require it if it's above a certain time. That actually makes a lot of sense. Very commonly there's like a threshold for things, and that's fine. It's mostly just so people can't just submit troll runs. I just leave those on. It's way too big of a headache to deal with. Don't do that to yourself. And then verify moderator runs. I don't know. I think that can be left off for the most part. It'll just automatically verify runs if a moderator submits it. I think that's fine to leave on or off. It kind of depends. If you have other moderators in your community, probably let them do their moderation duties, right? But if you're the only one, that's fine to leave on. It's not that deep.
I would say, yeah, it really depends on the level of trust that you have with your community and with your mod team as well. In general, I would say have other people verify your one, but if everyone's on board with it,
totally fine.
All the power to you.
Yeah. All right. And now we get into the awful stuff. Meta said that he was going to explain obsoleting because this is a really weird and complicated topic. And let me know if I need any visual aid.
Sure. So just go back to the slide there, or open up a rules page if you want. Either one.
We can stay on the slide.
Sure thing. Yeah, so there's two different obsolescence settings. One is for platform and one is for region. Essentially, they're the same thing, just for different settings, platform and region. The obsolescence means, essentially, if it is on, it will always take the fastest run. Whereas if it's disabled, hold on, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting this backwards here. I can't quite read it, but anyway, one option means that the faster run will always show, and only the faster run. Whereas if you have it the disabled, I'm pretty sure, then it will show both. So, for instance, if I have, let's take platform for example, because I think that's the most common one. If I have a PC run that's 1 hour, but then I also have an Xbox 360 run that's 10 minutes slower. If I have obsolescence turned off, then both of those runs will show. But if obsolescence is on, it will only show the 1 hour PC run because that's the fastest.
Yeah, there have been leaderboards. In fact, Spark 3 is one of them. Wow. Who would have guessed? Where sometimes it makes sense for stuff to not obsolete. These two runs are completely different at the end game. In fact, most of it. But I don't know. Sometimes it's really dependent on what information you want to show. It can be confusing to new runners, which is why I don't recommend it for your default category. We'll get more into that. But it's really dependent on if you want a lot of strat variety or you want to show certain information. it's complicated.
I would say if you're unsure, leave obsolescence on. That's
Yeah.
essentially it.
Basically. And then the written rules. Oh god. Have you guys like written rules out?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of boilerplate stuff that you can apply between games. I.e., like don't use a macro. I don't know. Don't cheat. Like
Don't cheat.
Yeah.
We require video evidence. Some games.
a lot of the
require
time though,
audio.
it's going to be specific, and we would need like a specific game for that. So
yeah.
Some games require audio. You definitely want to put in the category rules. Although I think we'll get to that a bit later, like what the end goal is, when the timer starts, when it ends.
Yeah, so on that note, one important thing is the rules tab here, the written rules at the bottom here will apply to everything in the game. So, for example, all runs in Spark 3 are timed by IGT. Simple.
yeah, do you want to go to like the main leaderboard part and just show like what the
yeah.
rules modal looks like? So yeah, as we said, there's the main rules, and then there's the category rules. Main rules will be the same no matter what you're looking at, but the category rules section there on the right will change depending on which category and subcategory you have selected. And so as a moderator, you add rules to the category, and then for subcategories, you go under the variables and you can add those specifically. And then speedrun.com will take that context and show you which rules are applicable to what you're looking at.
I always think more detailed is better, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's as long as you present the information you need to get into the run, it's fine. Yeah. Next is game permissions. We'll run through this really fast because I don't think they're that important, and most of a few of these things can be tweaked on the user end too. Run comments. SRC has a, for example, if you scroll to the bottom of any game, I'm surprised you can't comment on this when you're an admin. I'm gonna assume that's alright. Oh wait, no, come on. Anyways.
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's
Okay, fair enough. I don't think it's that important too. But yeah, you can see in Spark 3, you must have a verified run in this game comment. I'm sure in fact, I have the perfect leaderboard for this. Lego Fortnite, baby. We're so back. I do play Fortnite. I'm so sad. Lemmy won't play Fortnite with me. I'm calling him out. You haven't. You're fake. Fake friend. Fake friend. I don't want you. I can't say that. So yeah, you can see on my run, I have comments disabled. That's on runner end, but you can also see probably second place has comments enabled, and you can type in the comments field. I don't know. I always put that to off or verified runs only. I don't like the comment system.
Yeah, it's. I mean, seriously, it's like whatever you're comfortable with. If you, as a community, are comfortable with anyone commenting on your run, only people with verified runs, or just nobody, like that's fine. And then also, from your own personal account, you can decide if people can comment on your runs as well. So the permissions are quite customizable.
Yeah, my kind of philosophy on this is I would prefer people comment on the YouTube video, so it boosts the algorithm, so it gets the game more out there. But that's like my disturbed content brain. But it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty simple.
Any options viable? It's whatever
Up to
you're
you.
most comfortable with.
If like people in your community are getting harassed by like weird people, then obviously it's probably best to turn that off. But
And
that's not
also
super
report it.
common. Also report it, please. Yeah, that's not common at all. It has probably never happened. I haven't heard of anything. Okay, fair enough. I'll say it hasn't happened for the investors. I don't know. The guide submission and resource submission is just who is allowed to submit to the guides and resources page. Again, same thing as comments, to whatever you're comfortable with. I will say the one thing is the resources tab allows people to upload files like executables and
Yeah, so that's something
please be safe with that. Don't download random files from the internet from people you don't trust. The speedrunning community tends to be pretty good about this. I very rarely hear about people getting hacked through the speedrunning community, but please be careful. You never know. But yeah. The only other thing I want to point out is if your community is like small and pretty close, you can probably leave these all very loose. Like it is very rarely an issue. I don't think I have never run into problems with any of these. So now we're getting into the fun stuff, the actual fun stuff, and not the stuff that makes me want to tear my hair out. The categories. What the heck are you gonna do? Like I said, I think like Meta said, I'm taking credit for his work as always. Whatever you beat. You can see it ranges from literally any person 100%. You can literally just have one category. It doesn't matter. All the way to all of these random things. Shout out Super Mario Sunshine. I can't remember what the first leaderboard is. But yeah, there are a ton of categories. Do your best. This is again a thing you can just observe. It's also completely game dependent. For example, any percent hover list. That's not gonna. I guess that could apply to like SpongeBob and the Cosmic Shake. Shout out Jaxler. We're so back. Let's go, Jaxler. we have fun here at GDQ. But okay, never mind. As staff said, no fun allowed. Everyone, the panel is concluded. But yeah, categories can range from like weird nonsense to just the basics. It doesn't have to be that deep. I mean, I want to hear some of your favorite category ideas. I'm putting you on the spot, but it's okay.
Hold on, I need you to bring up specifically to more
yes.
the Deltarune category extensions.
Oh no.
There's a category name. It's so good. Oh yeah, that one.
TRACE. I'm not. How do you say this?
I don't know. It's so good.
Also, as a side note, please don't make your serious, real leaderboards look like this. I wish I knew the leaderboard. Meta showed it to me again the other day. There's a leaderboard where from the top of the screen to the bottom here, from the speedrun.com all the way to the bottom there, is all categories, and you can still scroll. I don't know. It was some fan game thing.
I mean, if you want to show a live, go to Ocarina of Time categories.
We don't have to like call people out. This is a category extensions page. We'll talk about those in a little bit, but please don't make your like serious, real categories look like this, please. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What is the point of this category?
I don't even know.
Okay,
to be
that's
honest.
fair.
I moderate this board. I have no idea what that category is.
You're a moderator and you don't. Sorry. One we found before the run. Oh, also, if you have enough categories, it ends up becoming a drop down now. Apparently. I didn't know that.
For the record, there is no category limit. There have been people that have added like genuinely over 1,000 categories.
Yeah. One that we found while we were in Tech Hell for this, before we were in Tech Hell, but we watched the run while we were waiting. Is reverse boss order. That's really funny. This is straying too far into meme territory. What's your favorite serious category?
Aw. I had one.
Okay, what's your favorite meme category?
Okay, GDQ people are gonna love this. Airboat percent.
Yeah.
If you have never watched
Wait.
M Sushi's GDQ run of Airboat percent in Portal,
Yeah.
I guess I should have told you the game.
No. I knew the game. Okay, actually, the content suggestion idea. Allow me to search by category, please.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
exactly how that'd work.
I don't either, but like I want to. Because every time someone tells me a category, I'll go into the search bar and like type it in. But yeah, airboat percent. Where is it? Somewhere in here. Minecraft percent. Okay. Yes, clip. We're so back. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of fun stuff you can do. Take your pick. Take your poison. There's another panel from last event called the Great Category Breakdown. So look for that. He goes over a ton of stuff. It's really good. Shout out Bystander Tim and also Amber and also I can't remember the third person. I'm so sorry. But yeah, they did good.
I want to give one more example for the category that I think GDQ people like. The Undertale category extension. It has a GDQ percent.
Oh yes, I have this on we have this on Bomb Rush Cyberpunk
Yes,
CADX
you do
too.
run a GDQ. You don't need video proof.
Yeah. But yeah, marathon runs. This is great. The one cool thing about speedrun.com is you can totally just add a ton of annotations and like this is so sick. This is a great idea for a category. If you need help setting this up, please DM me. I will literally do this for you.
We don't even have it for like the actual marathon itself. You could just do a run to practice runs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So you can have like GDQ percent where you just do one at the marathon. You can have marathon runs where it's all just marathons. Shout out Helix, the goat. Hi. But yeah, they walked in. That's fine. But yeah, ton of categories. Making categories pretty simple. Name. Use your brain. Scope. Scope is what's that? Scope is whether it's a level category or a full game category. We can take a look back at Spark 3. I have to, or actually, you know what?
No, it's My Sims Agents.
My Sim Agent. What's a good game from your following list that has levels?
Levels? Probably
Ghost Runner?
Ghost Runner 2.
Ghost Runner 2.
Yeah, Ghost Runner 2.
We'll go to Ghost Runner 2. So bad. You can see any percent, no tempest boosting, hardcore. Those are the level categories, and then leaderboards here are easy. Levels are a little bit complicated because you have the level itself and then the category too, so it's like an extra added layer of like submission complexity, but you know, it's fine. Player count is none of you have brains apparently, so I can't say what I was gonna say, but player count is player count. If it's a co-op category, you know, let's go bingo. And then milliseconds, if you check that always show time in milliseconds, it will always show time in milliseconds. It will add 000 to runs with a flat second time. That's really hyper situational. Longer times are better, or is in a similar boat where that's for like endurance categories. Very situational
I have
again.
an example for this if you want to pull it up.
Sure.
If you look up Ghost Runner Kill Run, there is categories that are ascending, and then there's also I guess like real time, because the timer's counting down. So whatever time you have left, that means you did it faster. So that's essentially what ascending time is for.
What category is it? Wow.
I think it's classic.
Yeah. So you can see the first place is actually 0.05 longer than the second place round.
And that's just because the more time you have remaining, that means you actually did it faster.
You know, I'm pulling up a sleeper hit that I moderate. No one runs. These one person runs. I didn't even request this leaderboard actually. I was like, yo, let me on this. But yeah, this is very similar where it's counting. It counts down from a certain amount of time, and you get like time collectibles. Very similar vein where you want the longest time in order to be better. But yeah, and then MISC categories are very easy actually. Thank God. We're going back to Bomb Rush for this, just so we can pull it up. We're so back. But MISC categories go under this little drop-down arrow. So it's for stuff that you don't necessarily want on the main leaderboard, but maybe you don't want to relegate it to a category extension. So another amazing example of this is Viewfinder has one meme category, which is not obviously not. Oh, Viewfinder is the one that is in the category slide before. I remember.
Nice.
We're so back. But you can see under here we have the demo runs, which is MISC is a great place to put your demo categories if you don't want to move the runs from your main board to the category extensions page, which we'll talk in a bit. But also we have cake percent, where you just pet a cat. But
nice.
Obviously one meme category isn't enough for a category extensions page, so we're using this as our category extensions. MISC is pretty versatile, so feel free to throw. I throw modded runs under there too. Bomber Cyberpunk, another good example of that.
I think another example in Destiny is like, because it's a live service game, it's for like older content.
Yeah.
So it's sort of as like an archival feature, but it's you can still view it on the leaderboard.
Yeah. I think a lot of communities have started doing this recently, where they'll put like archival stuff in the MISC category. It's great. But yeah, you can see speedrun mod here is a mod for this game that removes all the bad parts. Sorry. But yeah, no one's run it yet. Someone has run this, but they haven't submitted. I hate storied. But call out us later. Anyways, yeah, MISC categories are great. Next is subcategories. I'm gonna let you explain this, Meta, because you explained it really well.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll basically just recap what I said earlier. If you want to go back to categories first. Yeah. The way you should, and I'm putting this in very heavy quotations because, again, all of this is guidelines. The way you should set up your categories is as like goal-based. So that's, reaching the credits. That's doing everything in the game or anything in between, as long as it's a goal. And if you go to subcategories is essentially, how are you going to do it? How are you going to reach this goal? Whether that's on, like, if you're dividing between, like, a new game or a new game plus save file, if you're doing it with glitches or without glitches, and that kind of thing. It's sort of like for rule sets, for difficulty, for platforms, for anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm. You can tell this really, like, dates this slideshow, because this is the Lethal Company leaderboards, and you can tell because it says beehives, while other game has beehives. But yeah, it's a good way to think about it is like you have people doing the same goal just in kind of different ways. For example, this leaderboard has a glitchless as a subcategory. I have opinions about that, but we'll get into that. Beehives are a collectible you pick up, and they're worth a lot of money, and the entire point of the category is to get a lot of money. So, yeah. Well, we're not talking about the Bee Movie in this, because that's not a game.
It is a game.
It is a game, yes.
Everyone has record in it. Everyone go to B Movie DS and click the credits button, and you get a world record. That's how it works. Anyways, yeah, however this works is up to you. I personally always recommend don't go too heavy. There is such thing as being way too complicated. In fact, I would say this board here is very close to being too much for me. Like, I don't like too many subcategories, because think about it, every new subcategory you add is a new board. So you need to end up verifying runs for that, and people need to be able to navigate that. Too many subcategories makes it really hard. I've had games where I am really interested in running, but their subcategory management is really bad, and I just can't understand what I'm looking at. Additionally, one thing to look out for with subcategories, and we'll talk about this some more later, is some subcategory combinations don't exist. Like if a version is added, or if a version adds a new mode, and you add a board for that new mode can't be played on old versions. So if you have a subcategory for version, obviously if you have those old versions on that subcategory, you're going to run into issues. People won't be able to play that mode on old versions. So if you have a subcategory on that mode for the versions, problems. Have you been able to like untangle the web I'm laying out? Great. But yeah, I always think less is more personally.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I could go into the whole. It's a pretty layered topic again about like how you want to structure your categories and subcategories. I would sort of take the almost opposite side of it, and I would say like if by making more subcategories you're reducing the number of categories, i.e. like if you're using glitchless as a subcategory instead of a category, that might prevent you from having to double up. So for instance, if you were to have glitchless as a category, you might end up in a situation where you have to have any percent glitchless, 100% glitchless, all missions glitchless. So having subcategories is a way to prevent that. But again, it's really all about how you want to present your leaderboard in the cleanest way possible.
Yeah, so if we look at Bomb Rush, a great example of this is if we have any percent and any percent glitchless split into two separate categories. Reason for that is because I think of the goal as differently. Like any percent is beating the game with glitches as fast as possible. Any percent glitchless is doing the same but without glitches. That's part of the goal to me. But the problem that we could one day theoretically run into is if people really want a 100% glitchless board. All of a sudden, we have to add a ton of new boards for like all of these categories, but glitchless. It's up to you. If obviously in certain instances, it's better to do glitchless as a subcategory. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Some it's again judgment based. So if you need advice, by the way, you can just like DM us. Don't feel like you need to just make a decision. In fact, a lot of the worst mod decisions are the ones you feel like you need to rush into. Mm-hmm. So take your time. It'll be okay. Something just breathes less reference. I don't know. But yeah. Next is variables. I'm gonna move to this because we have nothing. Thank God. But variables are how you can add subcategories and annotations. They are two different things, two different settings. Subcategories, of course, adds that split. Annotations adds the information in the leaderboard, but it does not split the categories. You can make them pretty easily. I think we'll just skip because I was definitely supposed to be on this one when we were just talking about this. I'll leave this up for a second if you want to read it, but yeah, I was definitely supposed to be on this one. It's fine. But yeah. Never mind. I guess not. It's fine. Yeah. So the way you make them very similar actually to the categories.
Yeah.
Have the name, have the description. The description is actually really valuable if you have a ton of variables with the same name. So for example, one time I had to make like 6 different version subcategories. So I used the description to like lay out which one is for which board. It's very useful. And then purpose is subcategory versus annotation. Display mode is actually pretty important. We're gonna go to Pringles for this. Pringles has a great example of this. Mimic loves chips, yes. Everyone. Please clap. So they have this meme category, IRL %. You can see you have 2 buttons just right beside each other, and then you have this terrible, not terrible. It's good. It makes sense, but it's so long. It's so many options. That it's every single can size for Pringles can. Yes, yeah. And obviously, this makes a lot of sense as a like drop-down menu instead of a button group. Could you imagine? Can I mess up this leaderboard to make a point?
As long as you revert back. Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna risk it. But you can imagine what this would look like if it was a button group, right?
I don't even know if the site would let you because there's so many items.
That might be true actually.
I kind of want to see.
I also kind of want to see. I'm like curious. I'm not going to be peer pressured into making Meta lose his job. That dude, I've been wanting that.
I can get into that a bit later.
I've been wanting that. But yeah, display mode is pretty nice. Scope, all categories versus single category. We'll talk more about this later. There are some limitations to this. You can only make you can only make annotations and subcategories apply to one category or all categories. So please plan around that for now. We'll get into it.
Yeah,
we'll get into it.
Address that.
And then level scope is just full game versus levels. You can also make subcategories apply to single levels. Thankfully, we have a bunch of archive levels because we had plans and then they fell through, but it's fine. But yeah. And then value options is where you add the options under that. So, for example, this is where you would put V1.0 or whatever. Stuff like that.
If you're making a difficulty variable, the values would be easy, medium, hard, whatever.
Yeah. And then default value just selects whichever one is default. You can add special rules as well if you're on that subcategory, and it'll display in the rules alongside it.
Yeah. Maybe one note that I will say as well. So if you have multiple values, you can both customize the order in which they show, like left to right, or top to bottom if it's a drop down. But then it doesn't matter for the default value. It doesn't have to be the leftmost one or the rightmost one. You can have it be in the middle if you want. And that's why default value is important there.
But yeah, otherwise, again, if you like need opinions on, because variables are like a really touchy thing. Sometimes it's like really hard to decide if you need a subcategory split or something. Ask your community, ask people who know the site. They can kind of give you pointers. If it's a like organization thing, if it's like how does my leaderboard look the best, and you can ask us. It's fine. If it's like a rule set thing, ask your community, because the subcategory splits sometimes can be like really big things, especially like console splits. I know a good example is SA2 recently went through this because one of their categories is fastest on GameCube, but they don't have console splits. So one of the big things was, do we split by console now? We don't know. So try to keep that in mind. Oh, on that note, also, for console splits, you have to make a variable for consoles. So that platforms thing we were talking about earlier, you can't just use that and then split by that.
For now.
So that would be actually one of the biggest feature changes in the past few years.
It is on the roadmap, being able to use like the baked-in platform variable as you can display them as subcategories. I don't know when it's coming. It will be coming.
Speedrun.com is not as out of touch as it seems sometimes. I promise. Meta has like opened my eyes a lot more, and also Star. While we were talking, they're.
I mean, yeah. I guess we could take a moment here to say like there is years of work ahead to improve the site. There is a lot of things that we want to address. It's just it takes time.
Yeah, I have heard the horrors of the speedrun.com back.
I mean, yeah, like just like when we just did the site rewrite. I mean, that was actually a full rewrite. Last year we did a rewrite of the entire backend, and just however many months ago it was, we rewrote the entire front end of the website. So I say we. Obviously, I'm not a developer, but
no, I did the work. It was me.
Yes.
I take advantage of everyone's work. I'm a CEO. Wow. Was that too in touch? We're gonna pull back a bit. But yeah. Next is levels.
It's a very similar creation process.
Level name, rules. That's literally it. Moving on.
Creating a level allows you to assign level or like categories to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. Category extensions. We were on this earlier a little bit. You can request a second leaderboard, and it's called. You can request it as specifically a category extensions page, and I forget the process for this. Is it requesting a change to a leaderboard or a new leaderboard?
It's a new leaderboard.
Okay, it's a new leaderboard. So I would highly recommend getting a category extensions page if you have enough like funny community in jokes to justify it. It is a like community in jokes thing. It's not serious. Do literally put whatever you want on there.
Can we show the Titanfall 2 category extension?
We absolutely can.
The game cover just makes me laugh every time.
Oh yeah. I'm bragging again. I think Bomber Cyberpunk category extensions page has one of the best. Here, actually, I wonder if that bug is still here. Thank you, Helix. No, you guys fixed it. I hate you.
Sorry.
There was a
sorry for fixing that bug.
There was a short period of time where this would appear like it would cover the entire screen right now. And I told Meta and Star about it. I regret it now. But yeah, it's just the main character in Tim's, and he's twerking up in the top right. He shakes that booty, and it says a word on the logo that I cannot say. So we're gonna move on. But yeah, there are a lot of meme ideas. Seriously, if someone like recommends a category and is like, this would be funny. Throw it on Cadex. I don't. I am personally a big fan of just like having it there for the sake of being there. You don't need runs on there. It's seriously not that deep. Cadex is fine. Let's go.
I want to say real quick that there is kind of a requirement for category extensions. Like, we're not going to accept
No fun allowed.
We're not going to accept the category extensions if like you're the only runner.
Yeah, that is true. If you don't have like a big community, obviously, yeah. Like I said, Mistab is a great idea for like small communities, meme games, or meme runs. Also, if you only have 1 or 2 meme runs ideas, just put it on Misk. It's fine. All right. And this is the actually fun stuff if you're an artistic person. We've gone through all the weird tech stuff. I enjoy it, but, I'm sure people hate it. Now we're talking about leaderboard themes. Yay!
This is my favorite.
This is also my favorite part. So, what all is customizable? First and foremost is colors. It's so over. It's so over. Jaxler's leaving us. It's so over. It's so over. Goodbye forever. That might have been loud. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can customize the colors on the page, primary, panel, and background. I'll say I haven't seen background used a ton because it's mostly covered by an image a lot of the time. But
you can foreground.
No, the background color.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
Additionally, you can change which navbar is displayed. In fact, I'll go to XF Extreme Formula. We're so back. For example, on this, the color for the primary color affects fonts, and but you can also set it to the navbar, and it'll change the top, and then the panel color, which is just a very nice gray. Primary color always affects font and like the elements of the UI. Panel color always affects the gray. If you're worried about it, just experiment. It's totally fun. Experimentation is how I get all my themes done.
Yeah, I will say there are unfortunately some limitations to this.
Mm-hmm.
There are sort of barriers put in place to prevent like certain contrast ratios. You can't have anything that's like too bright. The site will automatically bring it down. Neon colors are really hard to get up because of that. I apologize, but yeah, we have to maintain. I wish I knew like the actual term that the developers use, but it's like a UX concern with I think it's called like contrast ratio or something along those lines.
Close enough.
You have to.
We get that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Next, the logo in the top right is customizable. You can see it up in the top right, or top left. You can see speedrun.com. Yay! Logo is probably the hardest thing about customizing pages. We'll talk about some tricks. Well, Meta will talk about some tricks because I don't know that much about it. But and then you can change the icon in the top left of the actual web browser. The little favicon up in the top right, left. Then you can change the trophy icons. The icons, first, second, third will have. I really like. There are a lot of different options for this. Wall's trying to break. That's great. It's fine. That makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
The bathroom's right there for the end of the video. See, I'm content friendly. It's disgusting. But yeah, I'm a big fan personally of a lot of different trophy designs. I love just having the fonts from the game there. We'll talk more about this in a little bit because we have some examples of things we really like. But the trophy icons can be customized for the top 4. Anything under can't. Then the background image and the foreground image. I don't know of any games that use the foreground. I cannot lie.
So you can bring up Cyberpunk as an example. It is actually just combined into one background now, but I can kind of still show you what I mean. Wait for it to load here. Basically, at one point, this theme had the yellow as the background with all of the palm trees and stuff, and then the characters were PNGs in the foreground. So that's something you could do something similar like this. In the end, we just compressed it into one image and made it into a background. That's fine too.
Yeah. Sonic Jump? That's a deep cut.
It's really up to you. Yeah, it just depends on what you want it to look like. That looks amazing.
This theme is fire.
That's incredible.
Hypnotic's my goat.
So I guess
Why didn't you put this on your Twitter? I mean, it's Sonic Jump, but it looks good.
Yeah, I guess you can combine still images and GIFs. With that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Is like the foreground is moving objects tend to be foreground stuff. Because you can see the scrolling. That doesn't really work very well with backgrounds unless it's specifically made to scroll and loop. But for foreground images, if it's like a PNG like this, like it scrolls really nicely. So moving objects is a great use case for foregrounds.
Well done, by the way. Like
that is a seriously good theme. That's really good. I love that theme. We'll have a Q&A at the end, by the way. But yeah, there are a lot of options. We can take a look at some of the options here in Sonic Jump while we're here. But some of the advanced options, you can fit it to your screen, position it. You can make it repeat if it's a very small image, and you can also make it scroll. That's part of what this theme is doing. So stuff like that. Yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do. Themes in SRC are way more powerful than they might seem on the first surface. You just saw this. I mean, there are some themes that are literally just cover art. So we'll talk some more about that. Or yeah, we can talk some more about that right here. I really recommend making your theme as readable as possible. That is like the utmost concern. Not too eye straining. I also think something iconic from the game tends to be really important. I'm going to go back to this a lot because I like the theme a lot. Bomber Cyberfun. This trippy tie-dye background is used in pretty big segments of the game. So, like, if you've played the game, that's something you'll immediately recognize and catch on to. I always think being simple is really important to me. Well, you'll see it in a little bit, but some of my favorite themes are just like really elegant design backgrounds instead of like a game screenshot or something like that. But of course, game screenshots work just fine. And then just fit the game's aesthetic. Really, it's I don't know. It's not the
obviously, follow the side rules. Don't put slurs in the background.
Please.
Don't make it seizure-inducing. We've had a few people that did that.
Yeah, obviously there's a limit to what you can do, and that's because it's like safety concern. But
yeah, I mean, we have 13-year-olds on the site. Keep that in mind.
and hopefully no 12-year-olds. Seriously,
yeah,
I'm watching you. But yeah, not everything needs to be customized, in my opinion. I really don't like when people force it, and that brings us to some. I meant to have that last. It's fine. That brings me to this slide. We have selected some of our favorite themes, and we're going to go through what we like about it. First and foremost is Undertale. I can also just pull this up on the site too. But Undertale has this really elegant background from the game. It's one of the most iconic scenes from the game of you and Monster Kid walking in the background of the castle that Asgore is in. Hey, guess what? What happens at the end of the game? You get out of the underground. Anyways, I just spoiled Undertale for you. You literally moderate the words. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, it's like this really elegant, iconic scene from the game. It is literally perfect. Also, Undertale, Friday morning. Let's go. But yeah, it is amazing. Next, or if there's anything you guys want to say about it too, I shouldn't just skip next.
I like the hearts. If we could put all 7 hearts, we would.
Yeah, that would honestly be so sick. Yeah, I love the trophy icons for this as well. It is really good. I really like it. Anything from you?
I mean, yeah, nothing to add.
Same points. Yeah, fair. Next, oh no, he's bragging. Get new content. I pull out it's all Palmer stuff. But yeah, I want to go into some of my design philosophy while I'm. You want to go into some of your thoughts about while making this theme? I don't know. If
I didn't make it.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure.
I did not make it.
I want to talk some about my thoughts of while I was making this theme. In fact, so the colors in this the orange at the top and the blue for the panel come from a direct UI element from the game. The phone in the game that you bring up has this really bright orange, this dark navy blue as the background. And I knew right when I saw the phone in the game that I'd want to try to get inspired from that. And then the background, like I said, is from the really iconic Dream segments. I actually had to like fiddle around a lot with the like Unity UI settings in that. I use Unity Explorer because it's a Unity game, unfortunately. So I had to like scale up this UI element really big. So it's not actually from the game, like during gameplay. It's from it's a UI screenshot. But that took so much work to get right. And then I think I think it's just the color it is in the game. But I can't remember which like part it was. But yeah, I really like this leaderboard. Also, it has these like font, just basic fonts as the top 4. It's really nice. Bomber Cyberfunk Thursday night. Next is Klonoa. I want to shout him out for this one again. I would have put Sonic Jump here if I knew about that board, but he doesn't even moderate. Yeah. I love this theme. It is so good. Klonoa just standing off to the side watching the runs. It's a Wonder Swan game, so it's all black and white, so the game like fits the black and white scheme. The logo in the top right too, or top left too, is just incredible. It fits perfectly with the game. God, Klonoa, my beloved. I wish I could shout out Klonoa around this event, but it's fine. The only thing I would say, or the only two things I would say, the trophy icons don't make sense to me because I haven't played the game. It feels kind of forced. I don't really understand. I think I know enough about Klonoa to like maybe know, but you know, like I said, you don't have to customize everything. I would honestly just like type one out in a PNG and then put it there. The default trophies are like these like pixel icons. You can defend yourself in the Q&A, which we might not have time for. But I know you had a point to make about this too.
Yes, referring back to contrast, the primary color here is a little bit hard to see just based like against the panel. You can see we have gray text against a gray background on the panel. I would have gone for white on the primary, but again, this is all just personal preference. So
yeah, it lacks a little bit of contrast. It makes it a little bit hard to see. See, I picked this one because I know the person who made this, so I knew I could like poke them. Yeah, and then this is probably my favorite theme on the entire site, if I have to be honest. Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. It is this is really really elegant like design background that I think fits the game really well. I'm not typing. There we go. We're so back. But yeah, it's this really beautiful pattern. This was like my big inspiration for. It's not loading. We're so back. This was one of my big inspirations for the Bomber Cyberfunk theme. Was this really elegant design background? I knew when I saw this that I was like, oh, I want to use the background very similar to this. But yeah, again, the only thing here is the trophies don't super make sense to me. I know they're like gemstones in the game, which like isn't a terrible idea for what it's worth. It just like for me, I would have preferred something else, but I don't really know what you'd think. So maybe like the Triforce pieces, but you know, I don't know. Yeah. Well, Triforce pieces, as in like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah,
something like that. That is what comes to mind. But otherwise, is there anything either of you wanted to add about any of these?
No.
Okay.
I guess just that, like, if you haven't got it so far, it should be cohesive.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Cohesion is huge. Like, make it eye-catching, but obviously not eye-hurting. You know, like, if you're not one for like graphic design, there are plenty of people out there that will help you. Meta loves making themes.
I do. I will absolutely make a theme for your board just for fun.
For many leaderboards that I moderate for, I didn't make any of the themes. Usually the community members do it themselves.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Of course, if you're like a moderator and you like making themes a lot, that's also totally chill. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's totally fine to use just the default leaderboards. I thought we had a picture in there, but apparently not. So I'm going back to Dylan. I thought we added it, but maybe I didn't. But I have one on hand. Yeah,
true,
for sure. I think somehow I got to category extensions, and I don't know.
I don't know if the Chromebook is dying or if it's the website.
No, it's probably the Chromebook, but it's fine.
We'll blame the Chromebook.
We'll blame the Chromebook. Hotel entry. Okay, we're so back. Yeah, this is what the default things looks like. It looks perfectly acceptable for almost every game.
And I want to show you something. You may or may not know this already. If you go into your settings, you can, like, if you're going to your user settings and you go under appearance.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You can set your site theme to be defaulted to any of the game's leaderboard, any of the leaderboard themes on the entire site. So, I mean, there's 26,000 games or so on the site. Most of them have themes, and you can pick a theme, and you can just have that applied to everywhere on the site.
Yeah, it's really cool. You can also have your own user profile applied to the entire site, too. So if you have a theme you really like Meta's here, you can browse every part like that, and that can help, especially for people if you have like audio visual issues. That's like a really good accessibility tool to just make it really simple, really basic. So definitely use that. Now we're gonna get into logos, which are like easily the hardest part of making a theme.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just some of the examples we had. You don't really need to know the themes. But yeah, Meta has some tips apparently that I haven't heard. So.
Sure. Actually, if we want to get on the topic of like creating assets for theme, can we go back to any theme, I guess. Essentially, if you're looking for colors specifically for your theme, I don't remember the website name, but if you Google like color palette from image, you can take a wallpaper, the game cover, whatever, and then that site will take the main palette from that image and give you the hex codes for it. Mm-hmm. You can then copy those hex codes directly into the theme. That's exactly what I've done here with Ghost Runner 2. And yeah, I mean, that's about it as far as colors go. And then, yeah, we can go back to the logos. I forgot the word for logos.
Yeah. For it's this, like pathos, ethos, logos, something. I had literature class. I don't know. That was a nerd joke.
There's you definitely need some more tools for this. Mm-hmm. If you have Photoshop, that's great. GIMP might be a great free alternative, and you're going to usually need a custom font. So what you can do for fonts, there is some varying degrees of legality. But there is a really fancy tool. It's a web-based tool that is called What the Font. That's WhatTheFont. That website is amazing for recognizing what font is in an image. So again, you upload the game cover or a screenshot of the UI from a game, and usually it's pretty good about picking out what font that is. Mm-hmm. Alternatively, if you can't figure it out from What the Font, you can just usually Google, if it's an old enough game, what's the font for Grand Theft Auto 5, for Metroid Prime, or whatever, and you can find it that way. Mm-hmm. As far as acquiring the font, use your judgment. And then, yeah, from there, you put it into your photo editor of choice. You can usually just type the text or an image, and you can edit it. And yeah, again, just make it cohesive. Pick colors from the game. Try to make it look similar. You can add effects, like with the Outlast one there. There's various like particle effects for Rubber Bandits, which is the like the orange and pink one there on the right. That has that's actually just the text duplicated twice, so that it looks like 3D essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. I mean, this dives more into just general design. Be creative with it. Make it look nice. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, taking just the font from the game logo is perfectly acceptable. You can get really artsy with it, but it's not necessary. Another trick, if your community is like close with the dev team, down here in the bottom right, this little water icon, that's literally made by the dev team for a game that I run, Rivertale Stronger Together. It's hype. It's a co-op platformer. It's really cool. But yeah, it's like this is as high quality as it gets, basically. Literally, they just took their assets, applied it to the speedrun.com text, and then I got me a logo. So if you're homies with the devs like that, use it, but also don't expect it. It's like a super niche problem, but it was like, you want to support people who want to play a game. Yippee!
Hell yeah.
It was like a super homie move. So the goats. And then even then, you can just use like the fonts from the game. Like we have Stardew down in the bottom right. You can keep it simple. It's not that deep.
Also, some Unreal Engine games will have the font just sitting in the game files. You can use that. For Unity games, you can usually dump assets. You can find font files there. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to go about this.
Yeah, many PC games utilize it. The Mori font right there. It's just sitting there in the game files. We downloaded it and then put it in a text editor.
Yeah. I mean, and like this bottom left one here is for Skater 3D. Wednesday morning, maybe Tuesday morning. I forget. It's after Pseudo Regalia, my goat. Thursday. So this one I made myself in Photoshop, based on the game logo. Took me like a good 30 minutes. And it was pretty simple. If you have some decent Photoshop skills, you can use them. If you don't, try to reach out across communities, in your own community, whatever.
As a couple of tips, I will say try not to make it too tall. The taller you make it, the smaller it will appear on the webpage, because you can essentially go as long as you want, and the site will adjust for it. If you start going higher, it starts shrinking. You'll notice, especially if you go to the Grand Theft Auto 5 leaderboard, they have the big V, right? I think it's something like that. But essentially, theirs is taller, which makes it look smaller on the website once it loads.
I don't know why it's been slow. Oh,
there we go.
Back.
And that's not necessarily like a hit on GTA 5. I do think that this logo looks fantastic.
Yeah, this logo is amazing.
But it is something to consider.
Yeah.
As well,
it totally works.
You will want to make sure you get rid of all negative space on the image, because that will be counted as part of the resolution.
Yeah. So
really make sure it's cropped tightly.
Yeah, crop it as tight as possible. It will help make it as good as possible. But yeah. What? I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at you. I'll do that for me. Yeah, no, I'll do it for me, because I also did this, and Lemmy is obsessed with me. Not Shovel Knight.
Let's hope this isn't the site.
I don't think it's the site, but I don't know. If it is, that's fine. It's not the site? Okay.
I was going to. I have that sweater. I was going to wear it, but it's dirty. I got it dirty last night.
He put it under a table and didn't realize the table would be dirty. LMFAO.
Yeah, who would have thought, right? I mean.
But yeah, you can see like even your user profile can have a whole theme. In fact, it's actually kind of more customizable, because you can have like a personal icon and stuff like that too. But yeah, lots of ways to make it, figure out, and try to ball. I think our last topic is managing community spaces. Speedrun.com is not just a leaderboard site. It has amazing tools to propagate runner activity. We're gonna just go through these here. First and foremost is the news tab. The news tab is the news tab. I think typically you should announce community events. If, for example, your game's in Awesome Games Done Quick 2024, let's go bingo. Announce it on the game page. Let people know about it. I wouldn't mean too hard, but feel free to. I know Katamari Damacy Reroll is like they're like telling a story through their news tab. I'm like, okay, sure, go off, gang. Shout out to Grass, but whatever. I wouldn't overuse news. The more things you announce, the more people are going to miss it. Minor announcements are probably fine for just Discord. I would only relegate it to like really major things. If your game's in Awesome Games and Quick, I think that's pretty important. I think you should announce that.
Major rule changes also fun.
Yeah, major rule changes is a very important thing. Make sure runners know about them. But yeah, guides are guides. You can make text or video guides, and the videos will automatically embed. At least almost all sites will have embed support. It's very few now that don't, I think. But yeah, text guides can be useful. Video guides can be useful. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, informative, organized. I don't know. I'm not a tutorial maker. It's not my job. I am really bad at it. In fact, Helix can attest to this. How many Bomber Cyberpunk tutorials have I made? See, they're lying. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, well, Story made one. It's fine. He live performed one. It's fine. Off top. -5 points. So next we have the Resources tab. The Resources tab is for programs, split files, blah, blah, blah. You can read the slides yourself. You can upload files there, like we mentioned earlier. So make sure, obviously, they're secure. But you can fill them out, or you can make them pretty easily. You just click the 3 dots, upload your file, whatever, from there, and then just fill out whatever information is there. It's a pretty simple process. If you want to have an instructions guide, I would honestly recommend having it off-site. Unironically, use GitHub if it's like an actual tool. Please, because GitHub wikis can be really important. But I don't know enough about GitHub. I don't do stuff. So, do what you want. If you're a developer, I'm sure you know your way around the internet. And then lastly is the forums. Honestly, the speedrun.com forums aren't super popular, but I see people all the time just kind of brush it off and if someone asks a question, be like, join the Discord, you'll find people there. I have recently been convinced that is really bad etiquette, honestly. But yeah, it's not hard to just answer a question really fast, and a lot of the time, I would say invite the person to the Discord. Our Discord is here, you can find it here. Come join us if you want. But a lot of the time that I hear people use this, it's like, I am a filthy casual. I want to know more about the run. What's this about? Stuff like that. Obviously, block, report, malicious threads don't. I feel like it's really easy to not be weird on the internet, but for some reason, speedrun.com has weird people on it occasionally. I don't know why. I know Hibbs making fun of me for being not normal on the internet, and that's okay. But yeah. Otherwise, just try to follow this stuff on speedrun.com, because obviously it's your job as a moderator to try to keep things organized, keep things clear, keep things helpful, stuff like that. But yeah, obviously the most important thing for most communities are Discord servers. Unfortunately, Discord seems to be on the way out because they cannot make a good business decision in their life, but that's okay. Unfortunately, there are a lot of easy ways to make Discord servers. Again, this is kind of a thing where it's just like, if you're kind of familiar with the territory, you're familiar with the territory. If not, you can ask around, find tips online. But definitely take advantage of Discord. It is very versatile, very open. It is a good community space at the end of the day, even if the company is kind of going downhill. But that's okay. But yeah, there are a lot of channel ideas we have. Obviously, you want to chat for your moderator team. Don't relegate it to some random group chat unless it's like 3 people, because having a lot of mod channels is actually really important to me. I know in a lot of my communities, I literally have a moderation resources tab in my communities or in my mod chats, and I'll have retiming tools, I make guides for verifications for people who are new to moderation. So like stuff like that really important to me. I also think it's a great place to like ask questions if you're confused on where to like what to do as a moderator.
I will also say, if you find you're making a lot of different Discord servers, make use of the template feature. You can actually like set a template from a Discord server that you've made, and then you have a link that will like create a new Discord server and populate it with all of the same roles, channels, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's really useful if you find yourself making like a ton.
100% Dutch. It is really nice.
Or even really more than one. I mean, why
Yeah, honestly, make a template, and the like first time you make a speedrun server, and it's like just edit it as you learn and go. You know.
I want to add, like, while Discord servers are helpful, if just you and your friend are running a game, you probably don't need a Discord server. It's situational.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of game communities without one. I personally am. I'm honestly a purist. I think every speedrun community should have a Discord, even if it's like 3 people. You can make Discord servers like fake, like falsely bigger than they seem by like making series Discords. That's what I've done, where just all the games are hosted in one area, so you know you can have cross community collaboration even if you run different games. If you think your community is too small to support like one game, like if a game in a series has like 5 runners, you can just bring them in. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, definitely up to the community preference. Like, if it is just you and your friend running, like, you know, DM group is fine. But yeah, you can have how I lay my Discords out are discussion channels for glitch hunting, routing, tech hunting. One thing I've learned recently, especially, is that if you are so broad, or if you're so specific, sometimes information can end up getting lost. So I've started to kind of think that, like, you know, glitch hunting, fine. Routing, probably not necessary unless you have, like, IL routing or something like that with Discord's form feature. We'll talk about that in a second. But, like, sometimes less is more. But, yeah. I also have resource channels in most of my Discords where you can post tutorials, guides. You know, it's very similar to the speedrun.com guides page, but, you know, very different because it's all right there. And also you can kind of be more freeform with it. It doesn't have to be so serious. And then lastly, I tend to have channels for each main leaderboard category and then misskinned category extensions, stuff like that. Because I think it's a nice place to discuss. But yeah, you can do whatever the heck you want with your Discord. Honestly, it's
just don't make it a personal Discord. We've seen that before. Like, people have linked like their friends' Discord as like to the leaderboard. As part of our terms of service on speedrun.com, if you're like linking the Discord server to the speedrun.com leaderboard, we expect you to uphold some of the same expectations that we would expect on the leaderboard, also inside of the Discord server. So, I mean, that means making it a safe space, a healthy space. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. So
yeah, that is a good point. Like, I've seen like friend servers have like a category for whatever game they're running. That's like towing the line a little bit. If you're welcoming, it's probably fine at the end of the day. But you know, don't be weird on the internet. Yeah. Next is community sites. Honestly, none of us are good enough at this to really recommend how to do a community site. I've never made one. I've never really even used one. This one's on you guys. Good luck.
The only thing I could say is that wikis are helpful, like the Limbo leaderboard. It utilizes a wiki to catalog tricks, glitches, and general information about the run. You can use that without making your own personal website.
Yeah, there are a lot of there's a site recently. It's like a wiki like aggregator. You can like put your game on the site and put in a bunch
are
of
you
info.
talking about StratDB?
Yeah, StratDB.
Yeah.
Yes. That, I mean, stuff like that is great. You can make it for your individual community. You can use big community sites like that too. I will also vouch really hard for IL sites. Neon White wanted one of these when I was running that community, and it ended up never happening. But literally, Well, no, it's portal2.sr. Never mind. We're so bad. Portal 2 has an amazing website. This is so good. And they also have a challenge mode leaderboard on their site. I think this is pure genius. There are a lot of sites like this too. Like a lot of them are pretty legacy sites. Shout out the Sonic Center. But don't shout out Sonic Center. We're not gonna speak bad. But a lot of them are just old, and that's fine. But stuff like this is really cool. It's just a different way to interact with your community, and I think that's cool. Of course, if your community wants it, that's what it wants. If it doesn't, then make it anyways and see if people catch on. It's up to you. Yeah. I've heard about this. Yeah.
Nice.
There are lots of really good ones. We have some examples here. We won't go through all of them, but stuff like that. And we have one more thing. Verification, very important for runners. Verification is not hard, and that's why we're talking about it last. It is seriously really easy. One, please don't watch every second. Don't watch in 0.25 speed. I'm gonna keep it real, and I'll mention this again later. I watch almost every single run I verify at like 5 or 16 times speed. Don't boo me, British man. Everyone like that. No. No, seriously, unless there's a specific reason, like when you're watching where it's like, oh, that was weird, let me rewind and watch that back in slow motion, like, it's very rare for cheating scandals to happen in the speedrunning community. I know YouTube wants to make us believe that every single community has a cheating... No, they do not. It's okay. But yeah. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe you're right. I'll be investigating Squish later today. It's okay. Anyways, every game kind of has its own list of checks. I know, like for me, in like Bomb Rush, for example, making sure like when they restart the game, the timer doesn't start until they're back in on the main menu, and like making sure loads are removed, stuff like that. Very basic stuff. It kind of depends on game to game. So if there's something, for example, that makes it obvious that they're cheating, then that's great.
Yeah, in Undertale, when you're walking with Monster Kid in a specific room, if you're in debug mode, there will be a -1 above his head. So if it's in debug mode, you'll know. But if it's not there, you're not in debug mode. It's an easy way to know if someone is trying to cheat or not.
Yeah, something like that is really nice to have, just generally. This comes with knowledge of your game, so be knowledgeable about your games. Hopefully. But yeah. Otherwise, I mean, I just check like timing, start, end, those setup checks, and then I go next. I don't know. Yeah. I'm so mad. I forgot to put mod dinner on there.
Oh my God.
I'm so sad. I had this bit I ran in the Bomb Rush Cyberpunk Discord where I pulled up 4 runs at once, all going at like 5 times speed. I had a Sonic cheeseburger and I was eating it. I was like, mod dinner, oh my god, yay. It was a good bit, but I'm sad. I forgot to put it up here. But unlucky. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Verification seriously isn't that hard. There are a lot of tools as well. Also, one thing that we can look at real fast is the assignment thing. And you can talk about it while I'm bringing it up. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. So this, I would say, mostly applies to larger communities that get like a high volume of run submissions, and or if you have a good amount of people on your team. So yeah, here you can see like you can assign a run to any member of the mod team. Generally, you wouldn't assign it to someone else, but technically you can. But yeah, if there's a lot of run submissions and or there's a lot of people on the mod team who might be trying to verify runs at the same time as you, you can assign the run to yourself and then start to verify it. And then if another mod hops into the mod hub, they will see that you're like currently verifying that run, or rather that you've assigned that run to yourself.
Yeah, it's good. I've genuinely had times where me and a friend of mine were verify to run at the same exact time.
Yeah, it's one of those things I've mentioned and I didn't mention because it's not really necessary now because this feature is amazing. But one of the things I used to have in my mod chats is a like verification claim channel where you put the run you're claiming and then you just delete your message when you're done. I still have that in the Bomber Cyberpunk Discord. Don't tell anyone. It is useful if you want to ask questions, but like you can just do that in mod chat. It's not a big deal. But yeah, it completely got replaced by this now. Like, and also we don't get that many runs anymore, so it's like, it is. But yeah, this is super useful. I definitely recommend using it.
Wait, can you assign it to Jimego real quick?
Oh yeah.
I think it'd be really funny.
Okay.
Will they get a notification for it?
No, it just says assigned to.
Yeah,
That would be so funny.
Run assignment
I
updated.
see him later today.
Let's go. Hey, you have a run verify. Get on it. But yeah, we're gonna talk some about verification tools. I mean, there are a lot of options out there. We all have our preferences, and I'll let you guys talk about yours. Because mine's in the center there. I'll talk about mine last.
Yeah, sure. This is sort of tricky because a lot of these tools require the run to be on YouTube. Like in particular these top ones here. But yeah, like retime.mcbe is I think made by the Minecraft community, which is why it's like MCBE. But essentially, yeah, you put in the frame rate and then you can get information from the YouTube video, including like the starting frame and the ending frame. And then you just you plug in the frame rate and it'll tell you exactly to the frame or to the millisecond how long that run is. So that's really useful for like RTA based runs. You really would never need to retime a run if it's like in-game time or load remove time. But yeah, not every PC game has a load remover, and every console game pretty much will have a retime.
Yeah.
So I mainly use the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe retimer that they made. It works for both YouTube and Twitch, although it's a bit more difficult with Twitch because they don't have you can't like rewind by just a frame or something with a button.
Yeah. On that note, in YouTube, if you click the comma and period button while paused, it advances one frame and rewinds one frame. In case you didn't know.
But you can't do it with Twitch, so it's a bit harder. But it is still doable. They have options where you can you can pause the video and then advance it by either 1 frame, 5 frames, a millisecond, 100 milliseconds, and you can just press a button to put in the start and end frames, so you can get an end time.
Yeah. The one I prefer is taligzebot.github.io/apps/timer, I think. Something like that. We didn't put the full URL. I really love that one because it has a segment timer. So you can start one segment at one point and then end the segment at a later point, and then it will automatically add a segment right under. So you can retime individual segments. This is really useful for in Bomb Rush. I've used this a lot for runs that are done on either console, which has only been one, thank God, or for runs that you don't use the auto splitter load remover. We're really lucky. We have a loading screen that is just immediately really visible and obvious. So we can just like click, and then the entire load removal is done. It's great.
Nice.
Yeah, we got really lucky with having that loading screen. So even if you don't use the auto splitter, we can still retime the run. It's great. And that website's really nice. It only works with YouTube though, unfortunately. And then anti-cheat. I unironically have never had to open these, but these two have apparently because Meta and Star both deal with like user reports. So I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, in general, you're going to be using like video software, but taking a look at audio is like the best anti-splicing tool, I would say. There's a tool called a spectrogram. It's in Adobe Audition. I believe it's in DaVinci Resolve as well. Yes, nice. DaVinci Resolve is
also in Audacity.
Yeah,
Audacity is like Borderlands spyware now, unfortunately. They fixed it. Never mind. We're so back.
Okay, Audacity's great.
Here they go.
So yeah, use whatever tool works best for you. Audacity's free. DaVinci Resolve is free. The Adobe programs are ridiculously expensive.
They are free, allegedly. But you know, to my FBI agent watching this, I apologize. Don't come get me on the behalf of the Adobe cartel. Anyways, yeah, there are plenty of options. Like I said, I have moderated for a lot of games. I've never had to do that. It's very rare. It does happen, so like, don't think it's like an impossibility. It's just super rare to have like a cheating scandal. You know, it just doesn't happen that often.
It depends per game too, because like for certain games with like, I don't want to name names. Everyone knows what we're talking about. Pokemon, they have specific variables and numbers that you can check through and see if something is a possibility.
That's actually so true.
Or even with like with Dream, they knew like the luck that he had. You can check in the game itself and see that the luck he had was nearly impossible.
Or like how that one like Ender Dragon perch that was like faster than was even possible in the game code.
It requires game knowledge, but you can look in the game itself and see its numbers and see if it tracks up with the game. With the run.
I think that is unironically the best anti-cheat is just game knowledge. Like no matter how much you analyze videos, sometimes there's just like it's not even in the video, right? It's in the game that they modify. So you know, game knowledge is pretty good for that. And then, like I said, custom speed tools for YouTube and Twitch are really useful. I went page 4. Crank it up to 16 for your own sake. Don't spend an hour verifying an hour-long run. Unironically, if you verify or if you take 10 minutes more or more to verify a run that isn't like a special case, I think you could probably more effectively verify runs, but that's okay. I will say, if you are like new to verifying, it's probably fine. But yeah, once you get to the point where you're like comfortable with verification, obviously, then you can crank it up to 16. And then we're gonna run through this real fast because I still want to have time for the Q&A. This panel was supposed to start at 1. It is now almost 5. So, oh my god, we've been through a day. But look out for correct level, category, and any variables you have set up. Correct platform is really important because that could affect where it shows up and how it shows up. Don't want to be using the PC or the PS5 version if you're a PC runner, because unfortunately there's no like console support. And then correct runtime date. Make sure the player is in good standing and not a banned community member. Make sure the video is all the way through. Like I said, most videos embed right there in the page, so you can most of the time watch from there. And then make sure no one else has assigned themselves.
Real quick. Technically, you can verify runs from a banned community member. I don't know why you would, but you could.
You could do that. Don't do that.
I don't know why you would.
And then rejections also come with a field where you can tell the runner what they did wrong. If it's like a really complicated special case, it's like, oh, okay, well, DM me, smile. If it's like too complicated to put in a text box reasonably, then do that. If it's like, oh, you didn't use in-game time, then just tell them that. Tell them, most of the time I would say point them to a solution, so you don't just like tell them, but they don't know how to solve the problem. Obviously, that's a bit of a problem. But yeah, make sure to use it. And then, lastly, they're going to talk about some speedrun.com features that are coming up. And I didn't make this look pretty, so ignore the oops, my bad.
Yeah, so this can obviously be a bit more of a dialogue if you all want. We're heading into Q&A right after this, so that's not an issue. One of the things that we addressed earlier is right now when you're assigning variables or even like settings like milliseconds, ascending time, or you really can only apply all of these things under the umbrella of mod tools to one thing or all things at once. It is coming where you can do one-to-many. It is coming. It's being worked on.
Eventually.
It's probably going to take a long time, and I'm so sorry.
I've heard the back end is like monstrously terrible.
Well, this is a really complex thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much data that we have to work through. It's going to take a
Speedrun.com is
while.
a big site, unfortunately.
It's going to take a long time. It's going to be so much better once it's ready.
Yeah. You can't make that joke. I will say one thing that is very common is we have a screenshot of the Undertale IL leaderboard. True Lab isn't possible in Genocide, so they have like in/A and the time is 1 second. That's really cool for showing that this combination of things just isn't possible until arbitrary variable mapping is real. That's a great solution.
It's a decent workaround.
Yeah, it is a very solid workaround. They self-submit a unregistered user run as in/A not applicable, and just make it an impossible time.
So this is another thing. If you've ever been the moderator of a large community for a long time, chances are you've had to make some pretty large scope changes. This is not an easy thing to do on speedrun.com right now, unfortunately. You can do some of it through the API, which is also a mess.
Good luck. I wouldn't know. I haven't used it, but I work with it.
It's rough.
It's messy.
I can talk about more about the API as well in a second.
We're going into Q&A. If people ask about it, then
yeah,
it's fine,
sure.
but,
But essentially there will be a tool that allows you to pick up a group of runs. You select, all these runs that have this variable or this category or whatever. You select this group of runs, and then you'll be able to perform a variety of actions to that group of runs. So whether that's moving it to a new set of subcategory and category, or moving it to an entirely different leaderboard. This is coming, again, probably after arbitrary variable management, a long time from now. We're talking probably a couple of years, unfortunately. But it is coming, and
soon
it should help a lot of those sweeping changes a lot better. Probably before this, I'll talk about API anyway.
Sure.
Right now, we have what's essentially called the API v1. I think that's what most community tools are built with and use. We do have an internal v2 of the API, which some people have figured out how to use, sort of. I don't understand any of that. But there will be a public version of API v2 coming at some point with full documentation and GitHub issues that we can address. With all of that, it's time for questions. Thank you all for your patience, by the way. And if you have questions, please come on up and we will answer them to the best of our ability.
If you have questions, it's fine. You just have to. You can bring it up. It's kind of a mess right now. It's fine.
Okay.
But yeah.
Is this thing on? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So, I was just thinking, when we started the speedrun leaderboard for Gravity Circuit, it began with the demo, and how that was forged. It had specifically the demo in mind, as in the title was Gravity Circuit in
parentheses demo.
Yeah.
And we later realized this was a bit of a double-edged sword when we were forming the proper leaderboard, because at that point we realized, oh shoot, we can't migrate this as easily.
Yeah.
So I guess what would be, any thoughts on how that could be appropriately handled or prepared for if a game is only in beta/demo, and also to add to that, would there have been a way if we say tried to reach out to ask if someone could potentially change or migrate for that for us, would that have been a possibility?
Yeah, so I think the easiest thing here would be if you're planning to use the leaderboard for both the full game and for the demo, that's completely fine. In which case, just file a support ticket and we can change the game name for you. That's a 5-second thing. If you wanted to split it up, that's fine too. I would say, if you have all demo runs on the board, keep it as demo, and then you can have you can request a new leaderboard for the full game. I would say there's a few options, all of which you would want to do through a ticket in the support hub.
As far as migrating runs, unfortunately, we do not have that ability.
Yeah, so as far as migrating a lot of runs, that's sort of the mass run management.
Yeah, you'd have to resubmit the runs manually, and it's a bit of a nightmare. I think in that specific case, it'd definitely be best to just take the demo board and turn it into a full game board. Or just request a new full game board.
It's just more of a simple reflection of what I remember from that, more compared to.
I think we might have talked about this before you walked in, so it's totally chill.
Speaking of the API, you might have noticed the Super Mario 64 moderation bot.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
Besides, like it automatically detects runs that don't fit the rules or might be spam, and it also has the ability using the API to mask runs.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool.
I've used the API to mass edit runs too. But I had to do it manually, but I had it all in the like database. So, but yeah, that's just one of those mass run management things.
All right. Great presentation so far.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm loving it. I wanna let you know about the tool that you might actually love concerning load removal. Some of you may or may not be aware. There is a tool called Unload by Milan Karman. I've contributed to that tool as well and plan on improving it further. It's a tool on which you plug in your video, you point to which
So, like,
screens
the
are
loading
loads,
screen design?
and it
I
just
think I've heard
detects
of
them
this.
all and exports an Excel sheet with your RTA time, loadless time, and load times. That is the biggest reason the Pitfall DOS Expedition community is able to change
Yeah.
to loadless.
Sonic 06 uses something very similar. It's a like community created tool where it's it just like automatically detects the video frames where it's loading. It's the revolution of video time removal is here, and it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is a good shout.
And
because
for
there are a lot of community tools too.
for live runs for splitting, I'll shout. I'll do a quick plug. There's AutoSplit that I'm maintaining actively,
let's
and
go.
my main goal feature right now that I'm working on, I need to untangle a lot of old spaghetti code I didn't
course.
write, is to have load removal while running with an image-based autosplitter.
Yeah, that I think
That is the number one
this
community
exists
request.
for like auto splitting, but not for load removal.
Exactly,
I think.
yeah.
So yeah, that's hype. That's exciting. We're so back.
And now on the subject of ILs, one workaround that you already showed, the NA 1
Yeah.
second, that's great. I saw a couple of the community do that as well. Another one is if you end up with IL, because you have to put a category, right?
Yeah.
So if you end up with an IL that does not make sense to have a category name, we have that in Pitfall. It's just some mini games and some other stuff. But any percent doesn't make sense. 100% doesn't make sense. We just name the category name individual level. The way it shows up in the site, it just looks great. You wouldn't even know it's a category.
Yeah. I've seen this too occasionally. It's good.
Last little thing, if you wanna cry or laugh, up to you. You can see it later if you don't have a lot of time. But go check out the speedrun board for Seterra, Seterra. There are
Seterra?
866
Yeah.
individual levels.
It's
Yeah, we've had quite
Final
a few
Fantasy
conversations
14.
about Seterra, yeah.
That one broke my API calls a lot.
yeah.
It's broken speedrun.com multiple times. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 on the same note is like an absurd IL list. Also, I will say, keep questions short. It's fine until now, but we do have to get out of here eventually. We've been in here 5 hours. You can
Why bother? These are going to be real quick.
British.
So this might have been like a wire getting crossed with Twitch, but when it comes to game art, like game box art, do you guys like to avoid having like stuff over the top, like the kind of like logos from stuff? I don't know whether there's like a preference or something written down, because I know when Twitch were sort of open source before they went to GameDB or wherever it was, they would say, submit without like it saying PlayStation 2 on the top or having the PEGI rating. Is that something that like
Frankly, no. I mean, this is something I said, gosh, like 2-3 hours ago now. But Speedrun.com doesn't aim to be the authority. Like, we try to take a step back as much as possible. As moderators, the leaderboard is your space. Feel free to customize it as you need. We just ask you keep it friendly, safe, healthy. We're not going to nitpick you about having the console logo on the cover or anything like that.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times, and it's like it kind of blends in. Like if it's a retro game, it's part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, we won't enforce anything, but like at that point, it just depends on what you think, how good of a
what you can get.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you folks aware of the SRC game?
What's that?
Speedrun.com.
There's a game.
It's
Is it like the random game?
So it's kind of like the Wikipedia where like you got to click through to
Oh.
get to a certain article, but doing that with random games.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am
I
not
like
aware
trying-
about that. That
I
sounds
saw
fun.
this with Sliceonic. Yeah. At
That
FinRuns.
took off at like the Finnish marathon. The other weekend
It
people
was-
were actually
it was
starting to do speedruns of it. So
Wow.
It was random.
That's
it
how
was
good the random game
game to
function
your
is.
user profile because random game can send you to your user profile. Right?
Yeah.
that's the premise of it, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah. It was
That's
just funny.
And then, of course, what is the best looking moderator sword on SRC? What are your opinions?
Easy Superman. Red.
It has to be a sword. I can't use my shield.
Well, that's a
nice
nerd.
try. Nice try.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I guess Superbot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, I'm not partial to red or green, but
Okay.
Superman.
Probably not
not so bad.
the verifier one.
The
It's very
verifier
rusty.
one.
It is very rusty. It's pretty cool.
The verifier one is literally rusty. It needs to be shaved down a little bit. But yeah.
Right.
Goodbye forever, Hip.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here forever. Not this guy.
Hello.
Of course.
Is it SRC, SRCom, or SARCom?
Oh my god.
So, yeah, so this has actually changed over time. I think when Elo had first acquired the site, the preference was sr.c for the short form, and now it's literally just src. But, I mean, frankly, you can...
Do you remember that brief period recently when they were trying to be like, we're speedrun now?
Yeah, so that's a whole other topic. Mostly related to search engine optimization.
That makes sense.
But yeah, as far as like acronyms go, you can use whatever you want. Like if you want to do SRCom, if you want to do SR...
How do you say the acronym?
What's that?
How do you say the acronym?
Circ.
Oh,
Circ
yeah,
is
I mean
the
just
correct answer.
SRC.
SRC is fine. I mean,
I keep hearing
I'm
people say
impartial to
SARCom, and I kind of hate it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I hate that too.
I was making it. Yeah.
I'm also asking you once again to go to my profile. I made a logo, and the logo.
I
looks
will.
good.
I'm gonna make a promise to you right now. I will go on my phone after this once I've eaten something,
Yeah.
and I will. Take,
Yeah, he
I will
hasn't
take a
eaten
look
in,
at your
like,
profile.
He hasn't eaten in like 5 hours. He must be starving.
More than that.
Okay, last question. Come up.
Oh,
All right, this is a semi-serious question. What's the preferred process from SRC for submitting a game that has not yet released but is like a high-profile game?
okay, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy, I have
So
words
yeah,
I
this
could say on
is
this.
again like a layered topic. It does depend if there's a pre-existing like IP, like if it's the first installment in the IP, or if it's something new. That does depend. If it's something new, we may not necessarily do that. But if it's existing, then we probably are going to go with some of the moderators that are like moderating. So, for instance, if there's a new Souls game, even though they aren't directly linked, we'll probably approach the Souls team and say, "Hey, like, are you interested in moderating this new game?" If not, then we'll start taking requests. Otherwise, yeah, like we have been known to take games early, like 2 weeks or more early. In this case,
I did
it's
this.
really, I have to say, like we have to know you, we have
It
to trust
depends.
you.
Yeah.
Having previously moderated games helps. Yeah, I mean,
How-
does that answer your question or?
Yeah, I guess one of my questions was when we were doing this for the Mario Rabbids
Mhm.
Yeah.
sequel, we as mods were kind of confused as to what we should put for like the run video
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah,
that.
I-
So
I think in that case,
In that case, I think Mario Rabbids has its own series.
mhm.
So the series moderators actually has the ability to create their own leaderboards.
we didn't talk about series.
and-
That's a huge missed opportunity, but it's okay. We're already
They have the
super
ability
over
to create their own
time.
leaderboards, and they can do so either a few weeks before the game releases or when the game releases. I know Tears of the Kingdom did that. We did not handle that game request. Those series moderators.
Yeah. I will say, if there's ever anything that's useful to have in your pocket, it's two speedrun.com admins. 3 months before Bomb Rush came out, I asked Meta if I could get Bomb Rush Cyberpunk boards, and
Yeah.
that's how I got them.
And it is
And-
much easier if we know who you are.
it probably isn't the most scalable policy, but yeah, I mean,
Obviously, if you're watching the video, don't go out and harass either of these two asking for a board. That's weird. Just request.
Always feel free to message one of us on Discord. At the very worst, we're not going to yell at you. We might just redirect you to the support hub.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we answer all of our Discord messages.
I will say everyone in this room now is a friend of both of these two, so you can get anything from them. I'm not responsible for anything that happens from this.
The entire room gets supported.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was literally doing that.
I literally so yeah, everyone who's in this room right now or has left, even I'll offer to them. If you DM me your SRC username, I'll give you 1 year of support.
Or you can DM me either one.
Yeah, we're so back.
Sort of as a thanks for coming to the panel
and also waiting 5 hours.
Yeah.
But
so you can join the speedrun.com Discord from the header.
You can also check his
you don't have to stay in it
platform.
if you don't want to. But you can find me in the speedrun.com Discord. I think that's just the easiest.
If you check his user profile, it's linked there too. Because you can link.
You can also just find my profile is META, and all of my contact information is on there.
Oh,
and yeah,
I have to go to this slide because I used the format slide to get the slideshow because it would look nice. That's true. We did miss that opportunity, but it's okay. This is where you can find us. This is all our social medias. Where we go by this on almost every platform, so it's fine. But yeah. Otherwise, I think that's it. I mean, I don't know. I kind of cut you off, but I don't think you had anything else to say.
I think that's it. Yeah. Reach out to me. I'll get you your 1 year supporter. Thank you for coming out. Seriously.
Yeah. I didn't expect this to take nearly 2 hours. I'm so sorry, tech person. I hope you're okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, this world is very strange of speedrunning moderation. It's weird and complicated. At worst, if you need help, there's a huge support hub that you can go to, and also there are plenty of people that will offer help. Speedrunners are very nice. But I think we finally landed. So congrats, we did it. Let's go, bingo. That's time, baby. All right. Let's get